Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BFI Film Academy's August Lab. My name is Alex, and I'm the Film Academy's Festival and Events Producer. And in today's session, we'll teach you everything you need to know about producing, the role of the producer in film and television, and the creativity required to excel at the role. The session will be hosted by Amon Warman, who is a film and TV critic, and he's also contributing editor at Empire magazine. But just before I hand over to Amon, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how today's session will run. So my colleague Fiona will be managing the chat box today. If you want to say hi, introduce yourselves, and feel free to ask Fiona any kind of more generic BFI Film Academy Labs questions, and she'll be answering them throughout the session. Remember, though, to select all participants rather than just to panelists when you're saying hello, because if you are just doing it to panelists, then the rest of the attendees won't be able to see what you're writing. And also, if you do decide to use the chat box, please be respectful to our guests today. Please be respectful to each other. So please don't use offensive language. Please don't share any personal information in the chat box either. And for those of you who haven't seen it, we've shared our code of conduct in the ticketing email that you all received for this event. So feel free to check it out. And we've also started a Facebook networking group for all of you who want to meet each other and potentially find collaborators for your project. So Fiona will share the link to that Facebook networking group in the chat box shortly. Feel free to join it and share your information on there and kind of network with each other and meet each other. However, if you have any questions for our guest today or for Amon, our host, so questions about producing, questions that are to do with the talk today, then please pop those questions in the Q&A box on the bottom of the screen. And we'll allow the last 15 minutes of today's session to your questions, and we'll try to get through as many of them as we can. And lastly, just to say that today's session will be recorded, and the recording will be uploaded to the BFI YouTube channel on Wednesday. So you will have the chance to see the session again. So now, all that's left for me to do is say, enjoy the session and welcome Amon Warman on the screen. Welcome, Amon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Amon Warman, and I am a contributing editor at Empire magazine. And I'm delighted to host this panel on creative producing for film and TV with the director of Breathe, Mo Ali, and the producer of Breathe, Kyla Frye. Hello to you both.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody.
Hi, guys. Good to be here.
Kyla, as the producer of this duo, I'm going to come to you first, given that this is a panel on creative producing first and foremost.
Why not?
How would you view your role as a producer?
How do I view my role as a producer? I believe a producer is the glue to any production. They are what keeps everything going and keeps everything together. They are the go-between between all the departments, between any and every avenue that we need to get films made and get films done. So yes, they are integral. The first one on and last one off, early, and obviously early mornings, late nights, but that's what we do. That's filmmaking for you.
Absolutely. And Mo, what do you expect from your producer?
What a lot, really. I mean, the big thing for me is collaboration and honesty. That's a big thing with a producer is, you know, when things ain't working out, is to be honest and say, this ain't working out. You know, they're a great kind of, that level of trust that you want to have with the producer, because everybody else, all the crew are there, they're there kind of they come in and help you with the project and help you kind of create that vision as a director. But the producer is almost a great thermometer in a sense of what you're both trying to achieve and what is realistic and what is not. And, you know, that truthfulness from a great producer is fantastic, you know, and the more you get that kind of realistic collaboration, I think the project at the end of it becomes more realistic and exciting, you know.
100%. So how did you guys first meet, and how quickly did you realize that you would make the perfect duo? Who wants to take that first?
Who's going to take the lead on that one?
I'll take it. I've known Kyla for years as a director, actress, and I've seen her around the circuit. And you know, we've sat on kind of event tables and just chatted. and connected. And I always kind of walked away being blown away at her spirit, her confidence, her just can-do attitude. And I just kind of like absolutely was just blown away. I was like, this person could do anything she sets her mind to. And I literally, was just eager to work with her. And then years later, obviously COVID hit and the whole Black Lives Matter hit. And I was like, you know what? I want to make this story, this brief project with collaborators that I respect. And the top of the pile was Kyla, And I rang her up. I went, Kyla, what are you up to? She's like, I'm having kids. I'm working as a producer director. I went, can you come and produce this with me? And she said yes. And immediately, the minute I knew I had Kyla on, the project was going to get made, because I just loved her energy. I loved her straight to the pointness. And I just knew that she could make it happen,
Bless you, man. Yeah, I mean, the love is there for real. But there is a mutual admiration and respect there for the work that Mo's done as well. I think, as an actor, first and foremost, you see a black director that's done features here in the UK. That's amazing. I want to work with them. So I think it starts from there, to kind of gushing the natural hierarchy of films and the way that films are made. The actors are always kind of like, oh, please cast me. But then at the same time, I knew that Mo was from where I'm from. We're both from East London. We're both, people of colour, and we know the worlds that we're from, and we know the world that we're trying to enter. We know the worlds that we're trying to break down, and the worlds that we want to show fundamentally to audiences. So I think when you have that kind of that affinity with someone, and when you share those ideals and those goals, it definitely makes it easier to work with, and as you said, collaborate with someone who's equally as passionate and as hardworking.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of passionate and hardworking, you've already said that as a producer, you put your first one in, the last one out. And I know I've spoken to producers before. I know that you wear many hats within any given day. What is your favorite and least favorite hat to put on in a typical day?
I don't like having to chase people. I really don't like having to chase people. It's so tedious and time consuming and energy draining. And that's something you're constantly having to do as a producer, just constantly chasing things up, following things up, and talking to people, looking at avenues, just throwing things out there, seeing what sticks. And it's constant open-ended conversations. And that can be very, very draining. Looking for money, trying to prove yourself. There's so many bad films that get made. You wonder how on earth they get made and who are making them and where this money's coming from. Because if there's this endless supply of money for bad films, I've got a good film, give me money. And trying to work that out and figure all those bits and pieces out, that's a nightmare. But what I love the most is working with like-minded individuals, seeing people come alive in their craft, because I'm not a grip, I'm not a Foley, I'm not a set designer, all those other things that there are many talented people that that do those things. But when they come together and when we see them work, and you're like, I couldn't do what it is that I do without you and without you and without you. And when it all comes together, and that kind of the serendipity and the synchronicity between everybody, and it all that's amazing. Like, we make magic happen, and I love it. Yeah.
How often have you had to chase down Mo for a response to things over the years? This is a honest, we're going for the truth. Hey, what the truth?
No, do you know what? Mo's amazing. He's incredibly professional, and I want to get paid, so I'll say no more on the matter.
Good answer.
So, Kyla, who taught you the most about producing? Who's your mentor in this regard?
It's interesting, because of all the jobs that I've done, of all the people and professionals that I have encountered, I'd really say Mo. There is no one like Mo Ali, honestly, and I haven't worked with anyone like Mo before. As I said, as a black filmmaker, as a black director, producer, and someone from ends. Do you know what I mean? It's someone who's done it, and who's done 2 features and no, more than 2 actually. Somaliland is a feature. In any case, he's a great filmmaker, and his insight into the world, the kind of business side of things, has been invaluable. And the way that he approaches projects and work with this groundedness, I don't even know the right word, but he's very grounded and cool and level-headed, but he knows what he wants and he knows how to go out there and get it. And I'm in constant awe of him. Honestly, I big him up so many times. Like even when he doesn't know he's there gushing, but I'm gushing, he's smiling. But like I talked to my husband about him, like, you know what, Mo just said this to me today, and I can't believe I never thought of it like that. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be more like Mo, and it's kind of crazy, but it's so true. And he really has been invaluable. These last 18 months working with Mo has changed everything for me. And yeah, I'm supremely grateful.
Absolutely. So it's
Thank
clear.
you, Kyla. Thank you so much.
So it's clear, you know, just listening to you guys talk, there was already a mutual admiration there before you guys actually met. And Mo, you were talking about, you know, what you want from your producer the most is that trust. How did you guys go about cultivating that?
It's really kind of quite simply, you know, we wanted to tell a story where it was about subject matters about the Black mental health, about subject matters that we don't really talk about on screen. We wanted to break a narrative trope that you see in a lot of TVs and streamers. And so that was our kind of community or collective vision, you know? And once you have that, there's no kind of you can't lie to each other. You can't BS, as they say, to each other. That's the goal. And what we have to do is communicate as much as possible. How do we get that goal made? You know, we could ring up every high-end crew member and say we don't have that much budget and get a phone clicked on us, you know? Or we could really just speak to friends and go, do you know anyone who could be a good sound guy who really loves this concept? And you get an email or list and we'll contact them and people will come. We had sound guys traveling up from Manchester for our project. They were sleeping in sofas for us, you know? And that's the kind of collective goal we wanted to have. We wanted to have crew members and writers and actors that would just come and do it for the love, you know? And it shows on the screen, you know? But in terms of the real relationship, I've worked with really bad producers and I've worked with great producers. You know, I've learned a lot from, you know, both ends. And what I wanted to bring to the table with Kyla is Kyla had this energy of she gets things done. You know, she won't sleep until she gets it done, you know, and I love that. That's the same thing as me, you know, but what we really do is if we hit a problem, we connect, we talk, we bounce, we figure it out, and she goes and does it, or I go and do it, you know. There is a teamwork about this, you know, because it's a low budget film. We had to shoot 40 pages in 2 days, you know, which is crazy. But we achieved it, you know, during COVID. So we had to have real conversation, honest conversations, you know. And the great thing is we both have such good relationships and reputations out there. We'll just pick up a phone call, go, hey, can we get camera lenses? Yeah, of course, Mo, no problem. You know, hey, can we get some actors? Yes, Kyla, you know. So it's that. It's really about that kind of collective mindset that sets it off, you know. And I've learned a lot from Kyla. I've learned that, you know, how you know, kind of like how she manages her day, how being a mother, a producer, an actress, she's got so many strings to her bows. I've learned that from her, you know, in that process, and it helps me. So it's not a case of kind of I'm teaching her. I'm learning from this incredible human being who's just flowering and taking over this industry in the next couple of years. So yeah, I learn as much as I teach, you know.
Kyla, follow that.
It's hard, isn't it? I think trust is something that, as you say, it's hard to cultivate unless you have a kind of mutual minds and a mutual spirit, and you know that, like, I'm working with good people here. You know, it's like you feel it. It's not something that you can really sort of put your finger on or something that you can really articulate. It's something that you feel. And I think that's one thing that I always endeavor to cultivate when I'm on set or whatever production that I'm involved in, is that we're all in essence a film family. We're all working to one accord. We all appreciate each other's differences. We all appreciate what the other person brings to the table, and we never lose sight of the fact that, like, as I said before, we can't do what it is that we want to do without everybody doing what it is that they do best. So it's about respecting that, appreciating that, acknowledging that, and just loving what it is that we do, so that collectively we can all make something that we're proud of at the end of it.
100%. You know, Mo, you mentioned sort of honesty, interest, and how you go about cultivating that. As a producer, director to the duo, I'm sure there are many difficult conversations that you've had to have. How do you deal with that? And is there any example that comes to mind, either from Breathe or a different project?
Yeah, I mean, the real kind of straight up was the budget. We didn't have much budget. We had nothing, basically, you know? And the choice of doing it for really nothing was this, you know, in this industry, they tell you you've got to have £1 million or 500 or 100,000 or 40,000, you know, and crowdfunds and all that is great. But I wanted to create an exercise where we can make something powerful and emotional with nothing, you know. And the whole idea is we come out of COVID, a lot of people have nothing, you know. So let art be the thing that expresses itself, you know. That's what I wanted to do. And Kyla was so behind it. So what, and the idea and that kind of concept, that mantra of like, you know what, if you're really creative, if you're really kind of like passionate, if you can make anything. A lot of people have made great visual art with nothing. We could do the same thing, you know. And the main thing for that is if other crew members believe in it, they're going to jump on. So we had to sit down and go, okay, how are we going to achieve, you know, cameras, crew, food, travel, you know, even kind of like stuff like, you know, sanitizers, because, you know, everybody's coming back from COVID, you know, everybody's literally on anxiety alert, you know, uncomfortability of coming to a public space and meeting new people and interacting them and performing in front of the camera and behind the camera. How do we do that? And we had no money. But you know, so we just budgeted really smartly with as little money as we can, you know. And the great thing is, you can see it on screen, I think, you know, whether we had money or not, the outcome would look exactly the same, in my opinion. You know, I swear to God, there is no, if it was a million quid, it would look like, because we had £1 million worth of post-production given to us for free by Molinaire, who were great. And I can't wait for anybody, you know, everybody that's watching today should really come to Saturday screening at 12:30, you know, to come and watch it. You can see, you know, how a project with no money whatsoever can be made, you know. And I can't wait for you guys to meet me and meet Kyla and ask us questions how we do it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you know, talked about needing actors and just picking up a phone and saying, can I have actors? And the answer being yes. I assume that's part one of the process, and part two of the process is sort of finding the right actors and sort of matching them for their roles. What were you looking for in regards to that? And Kyla, let's start with you.
I think, and like I said before, what's important is not just what people look like. There are many talented people out there, and we can all, you know, do the, you know, the casting brief on Spotlight and say, I want people that are, you know, 5 foot whatever, and I want brown eyes and, you know, fair skin or whatever it may be. And they can look the part and they can have a show reel that's outstanding. But if they have a bad attitude, if they have a poor reputation, not to talk about people being blacklisted, but it's important to be able to get on well with everybody, especially when you're on such a small budget, such a small time frame that you've got to work in. I don't think it doesn't allow room for difficult people, challenging people, people who are more about themselves, their ego, what they look like, what they'll get out of it at the end, as opposed to working to one accord with the team, thinking about the group, thinking about what it is that we're trying to achieve as a collective. So I think when we were casting people, it was important for us to get an idea as to who they were, what their personality was like, and who they worked with before, and whether or not they were actually enthusiastic and passionate about this project and the messages that this project is putting out there. Obviously, we're not talking about having everybody that thinks the same as you or feels the same way as you, because diversity is not just about, you know, what's on screen or what you look like. It is about, you know, thoughts, feelings, and so on. So we appreciate having those different conversations, those different perspectives. But it is just about knowing that when you come to set, you're going to have a great day. You spend a long time on set, sometimes in 12 hours of time or whatever it may be, and you're there with those same people, and you want to be able to be comfortable. You, like you say, you want to be able to trust and be in an environment where you can be yourself, you can expose yourself and I'm talking as an actor here as well. You want to be able to show your vulnerability. You want to be able to show whatever it is that's within, and bring that to the story, bring that to the project, without feeling like you are going to be criticized, judged, ostracized, whatever it may be. So that was really important when we were bringing together and assembling the team and the cast, the crew and so on, that we were working with great people, not just great actors, but great people.
You know what was really great is because Kyla's an actress as well. And if you remember, we had a little chat on how we're going to jump through or go past this whole anxiety of actors coming back in front of the screen after a year of COVID, We talked about that, and we came up with an idea is that I think a week before we go and actually shoot the actual, film, that we meet the crew there and the cast, as much of the crew. I really is a DOP with a camera, but bring the cast in and get them to kind of do a soft rehearsal on the location. Soft rehearsal, having a camera in front of them again, soft rehearsal of me being the director, poking and prodding and asking questions and adjusting and getting them, getting that muscle memory back again, And it's through us, me and Kyla just talking, going, how do we strip this nervousness that I'm sure everyone's going to have? The DOP, myself, even the producer, the actors, the actresses. Let's get rid of that. So the best thing that we did was just 1 week ahead, rehearse, get them used to the lines, the environment, my ideas, and them to each other and to, other human beings walking around, and I think it really kind of, the following week they turned up and you could see them really enjoying and being buzzing and exciting because they know what is coming at them. They know what's around them. They know what we are expecting of them and what we expect of the material that was written by great writers, Again, come and see it on Saturday.
100%.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears for just a quick second because I find it, it's awesome that you two were on the same page about Breathe very, very early on. But Kyla, as a producer, I'm just curious, has there ever been a project that you produced where it's the flip side of that, and a project that's taken a while to come into focus, but you had a good feeling about it, so you produced it? Has there any been a project like that for you?
Fortunately not. I say fortunate only because it's nice to work on projects with nice people and they've been wonderful and it's all plain sailing and it's always great to be challenged. It's always great to kind of overcome things and realize that you are capable of a lot more than what you thought you did, and problem solving and all that sort of stuff. But as I said, yeah, I've been fortunate enough to work with great people and some great projects, and I haven't really had to deal with projects that I'm just there for the money or just there because that's the commitment I've made. I've loved and enjoyed every single thing that project that I've taken on, and that's something that I endeavor to do going forward as well. I don't think there is enough in this world that we have to tolerate without being a freelancer that can't pick and choose the jobs that make them happy. And so that is what it is that I aspire to do even going forward. That if I see something, if it sings to my heart, if it speaks to my truth, and I feel like it is a voice for the many people that are unheard or unseen, I'm for it. If it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't ring true, if it doesn't get my kind of goosebumps going and hairs on end, then I'm like, you know what, it's not for me.
100%. Amen to that. I wanted to ask, you mentioned some of the challenges that you had while working on Breathe, and especially with the budgetary constraints that you had. I'm curious to know, in the moment when you're making this film, how do you decide on when to rely on the side of the process that is just like fix it on the day, and versus the whole fix it in post and the post-production of it all?
I hate that term. I absolutely detest the idea of, we'll fix it in post. I think it's because post ain't got an idea what you're bringing to the table for them, you know, unless you really plan it on set to bring to the production. Try and fix it on set, you know. I mean, we had, you know, one of the last stories that we have, Little Miss Sunshine, the tide was coming.
Oh, yeah.
We had a 15 pager, I think it was, or was it 15, 20 pager, you know, that you normally would spend half a day filming anyway. Not really. In TV, it's 5 to 6 pages max a day that you need to film. So we had 2.5 hours, you know, and the tide was coming and it was hitting the boards underneath us. So you could hear the slaps of the water hitting. And then at the same time, there was...
Well.
Huh?
We had the rain come as well.
Yeah. Kyla was like, there's rain coming in 45 minutes. Get your act together, you know? We had to do a rehearsal for the camera and stuff like that.
UK weather is so reliable.
Huh?
UK weather is so reliable.
Yeah, you could say, you know what, we'll fix it in post, but I was adamant that we had this great sound guy, Danny, you know, and I forgot another Danny and who? Zach, yeah, 2 incredible guys who came from Manchester to come and do this for us. And, you know, they were like, we could fix this, we could sort this out. So they had to move around, find the right spot to capture the sound, and then they had to get Foley sound to get the right slaps of the water to cover us. So we did technically fix it in post, but without us taking that time to really find the solutions to make sure that this environment works for the story, then faking it or drowning it out or doing ADR, which will totally make you detached from the narrative, you know? So those kind of things I'm adamant about that. Even though you don't have money, it just takes an extra minute or 2 minutes of your mind to rethink and figure it out instead of just saying, we'll fix it in post, you know? And the other things are, you know, we were there 2 days. So how do you feed the crew? Where's the, you know, HQ? Where would we find spots to kind of like have the crew meet and eat, rest and all that stuff? So we used the local restaurants who gave us spaces, opened up the roof, like, you know, there's rooms upstairs and they opened up for us and let us eat. We paid and they looked after us and we thanked them. And yeah, so I think any problem that you're going to have on set, pre or during, you just have to think it through. You know, whether you need that 2 minutes or a couple of days before, there are solutions. Just don't pick the easy one or the lazy option.
Kyla?
Yeah, I think well, basically kind of covered it really. I think there's only so much that you can do in post. There's only so much, and I think more often than not, those shortcuts can be seen. I mean, not to the average eye or the, you know, or whatnot, but it's seen in the sense that you could be watching something, you go, oh, that was a bit weird, but you don't know why. As you know, like just as a layman, whatever, you're just watching it, that was a bit weird, but you leave it, you let it go. And as a filmmaker, you're like, oh my god, you know, they just did this, that, and the other, and it's like, and it's so glaringly obvious. And I think what's wonderful about what we were saying earlier about assembling a great team is that you know that you can take those extra couple of minutes because you know that you've got the best, you know, you've got the best DOP, you've got the best director, you've got the best cast members there ready and raring to kind of problem solve with you in that moment and trying to find a way to make it happen. And you can only do that with people that care about the project. You can only do that about people who care about their work and what comes out of it as a collective. So yeah, I think again, it goes back to making sure that you have the right team there to help you on hand in the first instance, and then whatever little small things you can get away with during post, we'll tie it up then. But for the majority, let's get it done there and then on set.
But what was really great, just to add to that, was remember a week ago we did rehearsals. But while we were rehearsing for camera and angles and getting the actors to, it's almost a choreography. They remember the movements. We kind of asked, we kind of looked. But at the same time, me and Kyla would kind of come together and go, yeah, we need to sort this place out. Okay,
I don't know how many times we check the tides, like every multiple times a day, every day, we're checking the tides.
Picking the tides, going, okay, yeah, we need to shoot when the tide's low here, so it looks good. Right, well, when we're here, that means we'll break for lunch and move everybody into the cafe and they could eat. That means we need to plan an hour or 2 hours before to let the staff know that they have their orders. And, you know, it's just kind of like, that week before, it's a great kind of tarmac to take off in or runway to take off in, you know?
Amazing. I love that. So with the post-production process on Breathe, what were some of the things that that did to help augment the film?
Really, I had a really great relationship with Molyneux Post, and the guys, they really helped me. So I did my 2 feature films there, and I had just wonderful time there, and they're really supportive. And I just rang them up and go, hey guys, I've just made this story with a great producer, great actors, great crew. Can I come and, you know, do post production there? And they're like, yeah, we'll give you like $1 million, I think it's £1 million, but they gave me the best people there. But even before that, we found, you know, I wanted to work with this fantastic editor called Amber Saunders, and she did the post. So a lot of the editing process was done remotely via Zoom because COVID. So we had to kind of edit via Zoom. At the same time, while we're doing our cuts, we had to find a composer, and he had to go and compose via Zoom. So everything was done via this. All the post was done by this. Only the last final bit, which is the mix and the grade, again, you know, all of us couldn't go there. Only one of us, because COVID, was done remotely. So again, it's kind of like Amber was such a lifesaver and a fantastic editor, one of the best new editors.
Amber Saunders, get her to edit your work, people.
Yes, Google her. So we got her to do it, and then Jonathan, who's done like Blue Story, and he's doing loads of big commercials and film trailers, and they wanted to work with us because of our reputation, you know. And the post side of it, I think, again, was one of the easiest processes I've done in a long time, you know, because everybody just saw the quality and the what it's about, what that project meant, and they just threw their heart into it.
It sounds like one of the best pieces of advice we could give people is just to be curious on set, because I mean, you guys have been, you know, around the block for, you know, over a decade plus, and you know, just listen to you guys talk, it's clear that you guys had a long Rolodex of people to sort of dip into when it came to this project, which really served you well.
Yeah, I mean, it's also having making sure you respect everybody through for the decade and a half. Everyone you meet, you treat with respect, because for us to get that post-production, they really backed me. They were like, Mo, we'll back you and Kyla because you guys are cool people. You know, it's like, it's having that rep. Your reputation is important because you use your rep to go further. And if you can't treat people as you're climbing down or climbing up or down, whatever, treat them the same, either going up or down, they'll always back you. Even the kit that we got, the lenses we got, is an old friend of ours, you know, and I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna nick your back. He's like, Mo, you can have any lens you want. Oh, and you just made the worst mistake of your life. We're taking your best lenses and you can't say nothing, you know? And he was so great about that because he wanted to work with us.
I love that. I love that. Kyla, I'm gonna take you back to memory lane. Is there any lesson that or skill that you learned way back when on a producing level that you picked up in the early part of your journey that served you well on this project? Is there any lesson that comes to mind?
Patience, passion, and tenacity. I think if you have those 3 things, they can carry you through anything and everything, both, you know, with the camera, without the camera, whatever it may be. You need to be able to know what it is that you want, know what it is that you're trying to achieve, understand that not everything can happen all at the same time. Things may need to fall into place. You might need to get things aligned. You might need to get people together, whatever, but it will happen. Just be patient. You need to be passionate. You need to have a love for what it is that you're doing, especially filmmaking. I think it's such a beautiful art form that speaks to the hearts and souls of so many, and it's something that all of us across the globe can appreciate, seeing and hearing our stories told, because fundamentally that's all it is. We're just storytelling. We're just telling stories the same way I do to my, you know, my 1-year-old and 2-year-old downstairs. It's the same thing I'm doing when I'm producing a film. I'm just telling you a story, and I think that's such a wonderful thing have, to share, to experience. And so having a love for that, having a passion for that, and for the medium in which we're using, I think is important. And to be tenacious, to have tenacity, to be determined, to ensure that it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter what's going on. You can have a 2-month-old in a sling, but you can get the job done, which is exactly what I did with Mo in this film. It's one of those things where by hook or by crook, you can get it done. If you believe in it and you want it, it will be done. It will be done. So I think that's something that's carried me through everything, and from day dot right up until now.
Absolutely. One thing that I learned from a producer, he said this to me: it's dangerous to let your own prejudices come into play too much, else all the shows and all the things that you work on end up being the same. So how do you find that balance between what you like and what the project needs to be? And let's start with you.
No, I let Kyla. It's a producer question, so I think.
I see what you did there.
It's funny because, as I said, I'm an actor first and foremost, and Sanford Meisner, practitioner, said that acting is just living under imaginary circumstances. So it's you being you under whatever the character scenario presents itself with. And I feel like it's the same for filmmaking or producing. I think to say it's dangerous, that your perspective can get in the way of the job that you're doing. Yes, I can appreciate that. We all have unconscious bias, and we all have our own lens, the way that we see the world. But I think that's what makes it so incredible, because it is my perspective, it is my lens, and I don't think we don't have enough diversity of those perspectives, of those lenses, of this. We've got near 100 people in here with us today, listening to us talk. And I think that every single one of those people have got that unique point of view on life and experiences, and on the last 18 months, so to speak, that would be incredible to watch. And I think it's a calling card to make something that's from your lens. It's one of those things that Scorsese has a way of looking at things, and Tarantino has a way of looking at things. Mo and I have ways of looking at things. And if I didn't look at it through my lens, whose lens am I looking at it through? How can I be true to the story? How can I ensure there's authenticity there if I don't know where it's coming from? And I think that's also important in terms of the jobs that you take. Don't just take jobs because they're there. Don't drink everything, or that's how you get poisoned. It's one of those things, it's important to trust your instincts and to bring yourself to the project, because that's where the love is, that's where the passion is, that's where you're able to be patient, to be tenacious, because it starts from within. And so dangerous, possibly, but I think that's the moment where it's most daring and most delightful.
Well,
said it perfectly.
See, that's my most important.
Yeah. I love that. You both talked about how working on these sorts of projects is a collaboration, and a big part of that collaboration is the actors. And I'm curious to know what they added to this film, maybe something that you didn't expect as they were performing your work.
I think the actors, there's two levels. There's the writing. The writers gave themselves to the stories, and then the actors gave themselves to the performances. And, as a director, you just have to judge, you have to serve the story. But the actors really kind of understood it, because the best research they would have is COVID. The whole story is about COVID. They probably know a lot of people who are going through what those characters or the other stories are going through. So there's reference points, so they didn't have to jump too far into fantasy to make this performance real. And there were moments like the Little Miss Sunshine, which is heartbreaking to watch. I think everybody that's seen it cries, and gets really emotional. It's so honest, so pure, and the environment. And there was a scene where, one of our actresses moved towards this caged background, and it's a real symbolization of how she felt caged, but nobody told her. She just kind of subconsciously moved to it. And I was like, yeah, that visually tells a story, you know? But yeah, they gave a lot. They gave so much. It's so incredible. And I'm always grateful when they give something so beautiful, you know?
Absolutely. Again, you can watch this all for yourselves on Saturday at 12:30. You do not want to miss that. Kyla, you've been in this industry in one shape or form since 2008. On a producing level, what's been the biggest change in the industry from where you started to where you are now, do you think?
They're looking for more people like you and I.
That's nice.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you for being so considerate and welcoming and generous. We've only been, working our socks off forever. No, I'm putting that tongue in cheek, but also very serious. Diversity and inclusion is a very serious thing. But it's the truth, though. I think it's people, organizations, broadcasters, streamers, networks, studios, everything. They have had an awakening. I don't want to use the word woke because that's just being thrown around left, right, and center. But I think it's one of those things that there has been an awakening of the fact that we don't want homogenized entertainment. We want a variety of entertainment. We want a variety of stories and experiences that is, in essence, a representation and a reflection of our day-to-day lives. And I think that's where the game has shifted slightly, where they're now not using the same pale-male and stale directors, writers, producers, but they're looking to young people of color from East London. They're looking for people up and down the country, from from the Midlands to up north and stuff. And I think that's what's so exciting, is because now we're getting to see a variety of work and hear a variety of voices, see a variety of different people, and it's so exciting and wonderful and real. I think we're so stuck on our phones and our screens, whether it be our TV or laptops or whatever, that sometimes it's very hard to kind of remember what is real. And when we've been stuck in our houses in isolation and lockdown for the last 18 months, it's hard to remember what's real as opposed to what's been cultivated for our screens and our TV. So if we have more people from a variety of backgrounds telling and sharing their stories, or telling stories through their lens and through their perspective, it's only going to be more enriching for everybody around us, for all of society. And I think that's what's changed for the better.
Absolutely. So what are some of the best ways for those people you speak of to get into the producing game these days, do you think?
Doing classes and master classes and workshops like this. Ultimately, as I said, I'm an actor first and foremost. So for me, it's all going to drama school, going to classes, theatres, and watching people work. And the only reason why I became a producer, a filmmaker in the first instance, was just that I could act more. That's the bottom line. That's just me being completely honest. I just want to be able to be involved and tell stories that aren't stereotypical, or they don't follow certain tropes, or they weren't just, the run-of-the-mill repetitive perpetuating stereotypes, like I said, and being involved in that and taking more control over my career. So I think it's about being fearless and being open to both good and bad experiences, because obviously from the bad ones you learn, you grow, and you learn what not to do next time or whatever. But yeah, just get involved, be passionate, be enthusiastic. When you're on set with people, talk to everybody, find out what everybody does, find out how it all works, how it all comes together. Do online workshops, or read a book. Read more, because we forget about that. So many of us are sitting there watching videos that we forget that reading opens up so many different parts of our brains and our spirits and stuff. So yeah, just get involved, be passionate, holler at me. Do you know what I mean? I'm here, we're here. Just do it, get up and do it, be the change, peeps.
Mo, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what Kyla said, but I'd say, definitely read books. And if you can't afford to go, buy books, like when I was coming up, I'd travel into town, and there's, There was those bookstores, those massive bookshelves, and there's a shelf about filmmaking and producing. I just sit there all day long with a packed lunch and read it. You know, they couldn't kick me out, so I would read it. Find ways to get that education. Same thing, if you want to watch films, BFI have a free section where you can watch films all day long. You know, and then Google, find out how they made that. You know, come and join these kind of networks. You know, try and find a mentor and speak to them. Try and go and set and speak to the producer during their lunch or whenever they get time and get that piece of knowledge. I think anything in filmmaking, any kind of like discipline, there's a rhythm, there's a pattern that you could always use because, you know, it's been going for 100 years. There's a pattern, there's a solution. You just have to read about it and use that. It's a game plan, you know? And if you educate yourself about it, you would figure out the problems very quickly, you know? Is when you don't know that kind of like pattern or the movement or plan is when you get stuck, you know? And that's when the anxiety and the fear and the stress and the, you know, imposter syndrome kicks in, you know? So just educate, you know, the best kind of armor, tool, strength you could get is that knowledge, that wisdom, you know? And filmmaking is that. Filmmaking is capturing life, isn't it? So if you don't understand life as well, you know, yes, read books, go and see films, go and get mentorship, but also enjoy life, go and travel, go get those life experiences. So when you as a producer sit with a director and they're you know, working with the actors and there's a take, and you as a producer could go, that doesn't feel real because I've experienced that, you know, you could communicate, you know, because you've used life as a reference. So yeah, don't forget about living your life so you could, you know, recreate life on screen with your directors.
Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to go to some audience questions now. I know that you guys have been sending a few in. We got a question from Emma Topping here. How do we collaborate with you guys to promote new, fresh, and underrepresented voices? In our case, book to screen adaptations.
Collaborate with me. I mean, there's so many Google, you know, writers, you know, there's book fairs, there's books all over Amazon that you could kind of collaborate yourself. We're not the people that you should just sort out. I think if you want to collaborate with other people, find them, you know. My first ever mentor, I literally found his number randomly somewhere and I rang him up. I was like, hey, can I come and learn? He goes, yes, come on set, you know. So, but we're happy to help and point out, you know, if you come on Saturday, there'll probably be the editors that are going to be there, our editors, some of the actors. Hopefully you can meet and collaborate with them. So I hope to see you guys there and you'd find some of the talent there anyway to collaborate with.
Fantastic. Kyla?
I'm always open to working with different people. And I guess the best way is just to at me, like I said, at me, email me, look me up. And we can have a conversation. I think everything starts from having a conversation, asking questions and being curious, being open and seeing how things go. Not everything is going to be for everybody, but that doesn't stop you or us from moving something forward or moving forward with the project, because ultimately that's what it is. If you have a goal in mind, a dream in mind, a book in mind, a story in mind, it's just about finding someone who aligns with your spirit, who sees the book the way that you see the book, who loves the book like you love the book. And I think once you start getting those people together, it makes it easier for all those other bits and pieces to fall into place for you.
Absolutely. I got a question, a really good question from Kuetsna, Kusetna, sorry if I'm butchering that name. Kyla, do you have any advice on what steps to take with funding development? Any tips?
Patience. I'm sure you were here early on, so you remember that's one of the hats that I hate wearing as a producer. Patience, clarity, have an A, B, and C plan when it comes to money and how much money. So have your top bank, what it is. If you had all the money in the world, what would your film look like? Middle bank, if you had half the money, what would that look like? See, if you had 10% of the money, what would that look like? And see what you're willing to, I guess, compromise on, and what other things you don't want to compromise on, and you'll be able to figure out what your budget is from there. And then going to obviously the right departments, whether it's the National Lottery, whether it's BFI, or whether it's just looking up on Google, how do I get my film made? How do I get it funded? Because honestly, there are lots of great tips out there. The people often slate the school of Google, but it's the World Wide Web. There is so much information out there. So it's one of those things. Obviously, read, reread, reread again, and if you see things that are coming up in all three of those, you know, those sites, networks, whatever, there seems to be some truth in it, and go ahead with that.
Do you always have an A, B, and C plan for this?
I think in my mind I try to. obviously when you dream, you don't dream with constraints. it's always limitless and infinite and whatever, and then then the reality hits, and then the penny drops, literally. So it's one of those things that obviously you work within your constraints, but I try to have an idea as if I had all the money in the world, what would that look like? And if I didn't, what would that look like? If it's the same film, the same vision, the same thing, then I'm on to a winner.
Yeah, keep dreaming without constraints. It's a beautiful thing. Caitlin J asks, how did you both get started in the industry, and do you have any advice about how to get your foot in the door? Mo.
I started as a runner. I actually worked as a runner for 3 years for absolutely no money. I was no money. I just needed to get that wealth. So I used to do deals with the producers and go, look, I know you probably don't have any money, which you have, but you're going to tell me you don't have money. Here's the deal. You know, put me on board in the production, but every day you have to move me around from the department so I could learn. If I don't learn anything, then I'm going to walk, you know? And that was my kind of way in. And from then on, I started to move on to music videos and realized that the one-day productions, that means you could direct or start to direct your way and make kind of creative mistakes as well as learn about them, you know, and grow visually as well and technically as well. So that was kind of my way in. And yeah, that was it really. It's kind of whatever passion you want to do, just kind of just know it's a long haul. You know, a lot of us kind of come out of university and feel like it, you know, we just got to make that one film and it's that Cinderella, you know, craziness. It's not, man. Like a lot of the directors you're gonna meet, whether male and female, you know, they're quite in the 30s, 40s. That's the average time you hit your peak. You can be the wonder kid, you know. This is a long haul, you know. So in that long journey, have, you know, little kind of pin drops of what kind of films you want to make, how you want to express yourself. Because at the end of the day, these projects are time capsules. 1,000 years from now, you'll be gone. Your family's going to watch this. That's going to be so cool. So leave a little message for them, you know? You know, so think about your career as a really kind of great kind of message to your family down the line, but also like your career is a long moving, you know, trajectory where you decide where you want to go, what sort of stories you want to go. Don't think about this project as going to give you that Kevin Smith or 1 in a million, and then Hollywood's calling. That rarely happens. I mean, it will happen potentially, but what happens if it doesn't? That's the question you ask yourself. Do you want to carry on? Yeah.
So I'm just I got a call from Hollywood here. Just bear me one second.
Yeah, sorry, they were trying to get hold of me. That's why they rang you to ring me, basically. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So tell them I'll call them back after this. Yeah.
Kyla, what about you? How did you get your start? And you said that you're an actress first and foremost.
Sorry. How did I get started? Well, as I said, I'm an actor first and foremost, an actor through and through, and that is what propelled me into filmmaking, because I had enough. I had enough of the stereotypes. I had enough of the bit parts. I had enough of, you know, perpetuating those tropes that just weren't reflective of the life that I have lived or those that I knew, and the experiences that I had. It was always kind of very derogatory, negative, one-sided, shallow, all those things. And I thought, I can't do that. I know I'm more than that. We know we are more than that. So what do I do about that? And that's when Friday Entertainment was born. That's when I decided to be the change that we want to see. It was a case of going, well, enough is enough. Well, I'm going to write it, then I'm going to direct it, then I'm going to produce it, then and I'm going to be in it. And it was that. It was just saying, do you know what? I've had enough. Enough is enough. And if you're not going to do it, if they aren't going to do it, I will find a way somehow, some way. And I think that's what it was. And it was a case of just biting the bullet and going for it. And I think like Mo said, it's about working with, or just being knowing that it's not going to happen overnight, knowing that there are people who've been there and done it that you can learn from, and being open to learning from them, and working with your friends, working with people that you already know. It's funny because I think this is something that Issa Rae has recently said about not necessarily working up or working with the people up above you, but working with people alongside you, working with your peers, working with your fellow men. And that's hugely important, because ultimately every generation has their, you know, their people. And when you think about, like, for example, like George Lucas and Steven Spielberg and the relationship that they had, and they've known each other since school, from college or whatever, and they've gone on and now they use each other's studios and they use each other, and it's like they're two of the most incredible, biggest, you know, directors in Hollywood. And it's because they worked with each other. Ultimately, it's because they lent on each other, and they were reading each other's scripts and so on and so forth. So don't underrate your mates just because they're not with BAFTAs yet, or they're not on the big screen yet, because there are a lot of people who are being slept on, essentially, just because they haven't had the industry recognition. But just love what it is that you do. Understand that, as I said, as Mo said, it's not an overnight thing. If you're fortunate enough to get an overnight gig where you make it big time, I'm so proud of you. Well done, and many congratulations. But for the rest of us, we're here for the long haul, and you know, like, the stories aren't going to run out. You know, where there's always going to be an opportunity to tell stories. And they're like, you know, there's 7 billion people on this planet. Do you know how many, if we all told our life story, do you know how incredible that would be? Do you know how much, like, so there's a wealth of stories out there. It's never too late. You're never too young. You're never too old. Just go for it. Do what you love, man.
There's a quote which is coming to mind listening to you guys speak. If I can get geeky on you for just 1 second, but there's a game series called Uncharted, which I love. And one of the chief sayings is "Sic parvis magna," which is Latin for greatness from small beginnings, which is something which I'm thinking of just listening to you guys talk. Everyone had that small beginning. Even someone like Daniel Kaluuya, who just had an amazing award-winning year. So it can be done. I haven't got a name for this one. It just says anonymous, but it's a really good question. Once the script is ready to be read by others, what would you say are the next 3 steps to working towards getting a film made?
Read by others, as in the finance. I mean, first budget, break it down. You know, see if it's really, how much is it going to cost to be made, how realistic is it is to be made, and the other thing is, you know, get a line producer to break it down for you. Then after that, you can start casting, but you're the producer, Kyla. I'd go to a producer, I'd go, here, work it out. Not really.
Directing is so easy, my goodness.
You know, that's why he loves me. So you said so the script is done.
Yep.
And we're sending it to people, or it's already been read by people?
Once the script is ready to be read by others, what are the next 3 steps?
Okay. Once it's ready to be read. Okay, I would try and find a producer. I would try and find a director. And I would then start thinking possibly about the cast, only so that you can possibly have some form of read through. This doesn't have to be the official cast. It can just be a work in progress read through. But I think ultimately that's important in terms of hearing it aloud, hearing it in real time, hearing it with the producer, with the director, so that they can visualize, they can get an idea as to what it is that you're trying to make. And once that's done, you guys, I think, have a better idea as to what works, what doesn't work, where you're going to spend your money, how you're going to get that money. And then working as a team, hopefully, if you are a 3-way collective, to ensure and get that film done. I hope that answers your question.
Also, the big thing is, like, a script is never done. It's never done.
Ever.
Never done. Once you get to phase 3 and you read it out, maybe you need to tweak the dialogue. If it's a budget issue where you wanted to have like a big helicopter scene, there ain't any. It's a boat or Uber car. You know, it's never done. So
not yet, Mo. Not yet.
But be prepared. Be prepared to adjust, you know, to what's needed to achieve the story.
I see helicopters and airplanes in your future, Mo.
I've already done it. Done it.
Another good question here. How much creative control do you have as a producer? Are you there as a second opinion for the director, or do you get an equal say? Kyla.
Wow, that's a tough one, only because it depends on what it is that you're making and who you're making it for and who else is involved in the process. If you're working on an independent piece, where there isn't necessarily any huge backers that have asked you to do A, B, and C in order to get that money, so in order for you to get that film made, then obviously you have a little bit more leeway artistically. But if they have put those stipulations in place, then you don't have obviously as much artistic license, because you have got obligations that you need to fulfill, and sometimes that can be soul destroying, to put it lightly. Ultimately, as a creative producer, as an actor, my heart is always going to be there first and foremost, but it's show business, and business is the bigger part of that word, and that's always what comes first, and that's the difficulty. So it really depends on what it is that you're doing. If you're working in TV for a TV production company, they have you know, board members, they have people that they represent, and there's certain interests that need to, sorry, things are falling down in my house. Certain interests that need to be met and fulfilled that don't necessarily or perhaps not necessarily aligned with your vision or your spirit or whatnot, and sometimes that can be hard to take. So yeah, ultimately it really does depend on the project and who it is that you're working for or with.
100%. Do you have any advice about how to be diplomatic and open-minded as a producer on a project where you might also be an actor, director, or writer? I know that wasn't the case with this film with Breathe, but diplomatic and open-minded as a producer on this project. Any advice on that?
I mean, the biggest thing that I was given, best advice ever, like even to go and answer your last question at the same time with this, is it your ego that's affecting you? You know, if I have a producer come to me and go, Mo, not sure about that take, quietly, you know, not in front of the whole crew, but I had that private conversation. There's a part of the director you get egotistical. How dare you question that? But then you got to deflate that quickly and go, oh, they're helping me actually improve the scene. That's great. Let's go, you know? And it's really important because that ego is insecurity. It's thinking you're the boss. You're not. The boss is, you know, the audience, you know? And if a second hand or a second eye is supporting you, go, not sure about that, and they're really being sincere, then you've got a winning project, you know?
Kyla?
Yeah, I think it's about being open and honest. Now, as I said, it's difficult because if you're not working on an independent piece with people that you know, love and respect, like Mo, that you know that you have a background or a rapport with, it's very difficult, because sometimes, like, you know, you'll do, and I'm speaking as an actor here, you'll go off and do a TV job, and you've got perhaps you're a day player as opposed to a series regular, and you don't know the director, you don't know the producer, you've only probably met the casting director, the writer once, maybe that's just on Zoom, because the way that we're doing auditions now via self-tape and stuff like that, and so you don't necessarily have that rapport, and so you're kind of relying on the fact that you're hoping this is a professional environment and that things are going to be done correctly. aside of that, you're hoping that, you know, if you did have any problems, then you'd speak to your agent first and foremost, and see and have them be your buffer, see if they can put a word in with someone so it's not coming directly from you, because ultimately it's always the messenger that gets shot. So you don't want to be shot, but ultimately you don't. But you do want to do a good job. You do want to look good, and you want the film or the project or the TV show to look good. We all want it to work. So it's about, as you said, being diplomatic, choosing your moments, and knowing the right person or people to speak to. And that's really hard because, like Mo said, we are in an industry where, for the most part, it is ego driven, it is ego led, and it's very, and for us not to acknowledge that would be a problem. There's a reason why, you know, Zack Snyder had to wait, you know, had to depend on the fans to get his film out there, because there was other people that were writing the checks, or, you know, or whatever, whose egos were bigger than the directors to even let that happen or bring it to the screen. And that's what the fans wanted. That's what the people who are paying to see this work wanted. And yes, there was disagreements and stuff in getting in the way of that. And it's tough because, as you said, when there are bottom lines financially that need to be met, and money needs to be made, and business decisions need to happen, it's very difficult to try and have an open, honest, vulnerable conversation about one small part in a bigger picture, in a grand scheme of things. But yeah, just, I guess, trust your instincts. Go to your agent or to the person who possibly reps you. And if you don't think it's going to make or break the project, hold it down and send an anonymous tweet.
Speaking of tweeting, Ali, so Mo, if you ever need me to start a release the Ali hashtag, or release the Ali cut hashtag, I can, you know, just let me know.
Released it. It's done. It's already out.
Awesome. This question is from Reese Watson. How do the crafts of both an actor and producer play into each other for you, either negatively or positively? Also, could or have you done both at once, and did it work?
What's this for? Sorry, I misheard this question.
It's okay. It's from Reese Watson. And the question is, how do the crafts of both an actor and producer play into each other for you, either negatively or positively? Also, could or have you done both at once, and did it work?
Okay.
There's a story here.
All right.
I can just tell already.
Well, like I said, I went into filmmaking so that I could act more. That's the bottom line. So with the first piece that I did, The Key, which is a documentary about the entertainment business, I took myself from it, because it's basically a series of interviews, a documentary talking to people who I worked with. So I took my interview out of it and left it firmly, and left the focus firmly on those other individuals, because it wasn't about me, it was about the industry at large. I was just, I guess, the medium in which we were learning about all these other amazing, talented people. Then with, I think, Faces, which was my mental health short that I did a couple of years ago, I played a very, very small part in that. But it was also a semi-autobiographical piece that was raising awareness about mental health, depression, and anxiety. And then I'm currently producing and starring in a feature film at the moment, which is crazy because which is mental, which is absolutely mental, because, like you say, like from creating the story to producing it, it's crazy to try and learning lines and hold on, let me think about costume and let me think about all these other things I've got to do. It's challenging. It's challenging. It's difficult sometimes to kind of know when to switch one hat from the next, but because I love what I do and I love the process, I love working with talented people and you know, starting off with an idea or a vision and seeing that come to fruition. And like I said, for me, it's not always about being the lead, being one person has the most lines or whatever. It's just about being a part of it, because I love this. I love what it is that we all do here, and it's such a, as Mo said so many times, it's such a collaborative process. So me bringing in the best of the best to do whatever it is that they do, and I just come in to do my little 1, 2, yeah, hey, this is me. But watching but watching and learning and admiring all those other people, as you said, it has highs and lows, but for the most part, it's an absolute joy. Exhausting, but joyful.
This question is from Ella Marshall, excuse me. Do you think there are opportunities for those who haven't gone through traditional avenues to get into the film industry, and what are those opportunities?
I mean, for me, I don't have any. I went to uni for 6 months and quit, and then just picked up a camera and started filming. You know, I wish I knew about BFI, you know, labs when I left uni and stuff like that, or before uni. But the opportunities are here with the BFI, and you can. I mean, just is making your own collective team as well to make productions is really important. I think, you know, I think Kyla said it really well. You have to work with your peers. If you've come out of uni, your best group of people around you that will be successful is the ones that have come out of uni all over the country. And you can make multiple projects, and I guarantee within 10 to, it's a bit long term, within several years ahead, you'll become the establishment. You know, you're going to see each other in film festivals. You're going to see each other on sets. You're going to see each other at award ceremonies, you know, if you're lucky enough. So you might as well build that relationship as quickly and as early as possible and climb up together, you know?
Absolutely. Sorry, you got to repeat the question for me. I was so taken by what Mo was saying.
So the question is from Ella Marshall. Do you think
conventional routes into filmmaking, wasn't it? That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't go to film school. I've always, you know, I told you guys. Yeah, like, I mean, as I said, actor first and foremost. And then when I decided that I was going to do something, what that was, I spoke to my friend who I actually went to school with, who had interviewed me for a magazine that he was working at, but I knew that he had gone into filmmaking, he'd gone into documentary making. And so when I thought about the key, when I thought about what I wanted that to be, the first person I spoke to was Daniel Onya, who was my DOP on that and co-producer on that. And I was just like, well, you know, we did GCSE drama together, we did A-level drama together. We've gone off to uni and we've done different things. Obviously, I'm an actor, you're a filmmaker first and foremost, but I know you, I need you to do what you do so that we can do what we do, and let's make that happen. And it went on from there. And yeah, so it was one of those things where I just thought, let's just do it and see what happens. I think if you let go of the end goal, if you let go of what we deem to be successful, if you let go of what we deem to be all that's good and great with the industry, and just see what happens, great things happen. Wonderful things, like the universe works and conspires for your good, for your betterment, and that's what's really exciting and wonderful.
So for that small time I was in university for 6 months, there was this other guy who was 10 times more talented. He was the star pupil, the guy, the next Steven Spielberg, the next J.J. Abraham. But you know what? In my mind, I knew I'm going to outdo him because I had the stamina. I just knew, I'm like Mo Farah, I'm not going to get tired, you know? Seriously, that's the thing. That's the thing you're going to have. If you have coming out of uni and stuff like that, there's a lot of pressure for you guys to be successful directors, but you have to have the stamina. You got to have the stamina to go through obstacles, go through days and weeks and months of someone telling you, no, we don't want to work with you because you don't have experience. What are you going to do for that? That's the big question, you know? That's the real test in this industry, is when they say no to you, you know? That's how you kind of find out who you really are.
And I think also, when, you know, we think about this day and age as well, with the rise of TikTok and YouTube and everything else, the fact that you have the opportunity to create work and art, whether it be 5 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes onwards, you have the platforms that are there for you to showcase your abilities, your talents. And yes, it's one of those things where sometimes we wonder how these TikTok stars, YouTube stars can become stars overnight, because, you know, they found a niche or a following. But ultimately, if you remain true to you and authentic, and remain your authentic self, you can't ever lose, and you'll be in this game for as long as you need to be in this game for, because it's not about the money, it's not about the fame, it's not about the fads, the trending topics or whatever. It's just about you doing what it is that you do. So just remain true to yourself and be patient, and know that It's the wonderful world of filmmaking, man.
Well, let me add that. See, this is how good we are. We bounce stuff off each other, right? So let me just take the ball here and quickly just add to this and do a dunk, right? So with the no's, this is really interesting. As a producer or a director, you're gonna get a lot of no's in this industry, and they're gonna be crushing. But you don't treat them as crushing, because a lot of these no's in this industry, it's like they're not no's as in get out, you're useless and crap. It's like no as in not today. No as in like maybe come back in a week's time with a better pitch. No as in like today I'm having a rough day. Do something. That's how you take your no's, you know? And the yeses as well. A yes could be yes, but maybe tomorrow I'm gonna change my mind. So this business is really fluid. Yeah. So if you get rejected, come back the next day. And then you probably get entered, or you may have that meeting. So, you know, don't let those no's crush you, you know. Just maybe that person had a bad day. Maybe they just don't have a budget. Maybe they're thinking about come back in 6 months' time. Use that opportunity to follow up on it. I guarantee you, they will respect you. Go, oh, that person never gives up. All right, they're interesting. I'm going to keep them close because they know where they're going. Stamina.
The comeback is bigger than the setback.
Yeah.
Where can I get that tattoo? That's I love that. I love that. And on that note, that is it.
Tattoo? Who's got it? Me? My tattoo?
No, I want to. It's more. I want to get that tattoo. It's so good. That's the point I was making. Have you got a tattoo of that, Mo?
A tattoo of what? I've got a tattoo, but I don't know what everybody thought.
And the setback.
Oh no! Don't get tattoos, kids. Don't get tattoos.
Oh, that's the note we're ending on. Okay.
Yeah.
I think what I'm taking from that conversation is that this is not a sprint; it's a marathon. I think people will do well to remember that. But that is it for this amazing panel on creative producing for film and TV. I'd like to thank Kyla, Frye and Mo Ali for their time. This has been really, really fun and hopefully really enlightening for everyone listening. I will just give you one final reminder. You should come down and see Breathe live at the BFI, 12:30 Saturday. Mo Ali will be there. Kyla, I think you're going to be there too, right? Fingers crossed. And, you know, unfortunately, I will be there too, but you can just ignore me, so that's fine. Alex, I think you have a few words you want to say.
Hi, thank you so much, Amon. Thank you, Mo and Kyla. That was such an insightful discussion. Thank you, Amon. That was great hosting. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions. I'm sorry we're not able to get through all of them. There were quite a few, but come on Saturday, and maybe your other questions will get answered. Just before you go, I wanted to ask you, if you don't mind taking a couple of minutes, this is to attendees, not our panelists, to fill in a short survey and let us know what you thought of today's session and how we can improve these online sessions moving forward. So Fiona will post the link to that survey in the chat box shortly. Yeah, if you don't mind doing that, that would really, really help us. And so as we said quite a few times, our labs have gone hybrid. We will continue with our series of Monday evening online sessions that are free to attend to everyone worldwide, like this one tonight. But then on the following Saturday, we'll start hosting in-venue events at the BFI South Bank. And these in-venue sessions, the idea is that they focus on more practical skills and kind of build up on the learnings from Monday's session. And so our next in-venue lab takes place this coming Saturdays. We'll be joined by Mo again and by Amon. But also we will have Tim Spicer, who we mentioned earlier on in the conversation. He was the DP on Breathe. So him and Mo will be giving a talk about giving and receiving notes as creatives working on film and TV projects. So should be super interesting and useful. I saw some questions about that in the Q&A box, actually. But you will also get to see Breathe on the big screen. That's got the big debut for the film, right?
Yeah.
Debut.
Yeah, and then also you will get the chance to talk through your film ideas and your scripts with our resident script doctors, Teresa and Gabs, who in the past used to be part of our labs. So we are bringing them back. And then most importantly, probably for you guys, there'll be free drinks. There will be a networking event at the very end. And finally, after 18 months, maybe you will all get to meet each other face to face, finally, get to network with each other, find collaborators for your projects and so on. So You can find tickets for our in-venue lab on the BFI website. And then the very last thing to say is thank you everyone for attending. If you missed anything today, if you want to watch the session again, it will be posted to the BFI YouTube channel this week, and we'll be posting on our Film Academy social channels once the recording is up, so that you know. Have a lovely evening, everyone, and hopefully see you all in person on Saturday.
Yeah.
Thank you all so
Thanks,
much. God
guys.
bless
See
you
you on
all.
Saturday.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.